This is a face-to-face business, Christopher.
Christopher wasn't weak. In fact, he was the only one in The Sopranos who actually tried to change his life. And that's the real reason Tony killed him.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an alcoholic and drug addict. Hi, Chris.
Few character arcs in The Sopranos sting with as much bitter irony as Christopher Moltisanti's doomed attempts at sobriety. What begins as an earnest, if uneven effort to claw his way out of heroin addiction quickly becomes one of the show's most devastating illustrations of how improvement is not only unwelcome, but actively punished in this world.
Not only do we share a certain background and culture, we also care about Chris.
If Christopher's story is a tragedy, it is one authored less by his own demons than by the circle of people who supposedly loved him. The litany of betrayals begins at home. Adriana, partner in romance and in dysfunction, cannot be bothered to make the apartment a sober space.
You can dump another glass of wine in your soup and embarrass me in front of a whole restaurant?
Her glass of wine becomes less a beverage than a passive-aggressive middle finger, a reminder that even within his own four walls, Christopher's struggle is a source of ridicule.
Then again, he does have a history of being free with his hands.
Their relationship, already rotting from violence and secrecy, disintegrates further under the weight of her half-hearted support.
Anyway, Christopher don't let him deal in the club. Once in a while, he'd sell me some X or whatever.
It is fashionable to remember Adriana as a tragic victim, and she was, but let's not pretend she did Christopher any favors on the sobriety front. Outside the apartment, the hostility grows into outright sabotage. The infamous backyard barbecue in Season 4 is practically a masterclass in cruelty. Tony descends like a sadistic Greek chorus, mocking Christopher's abstinence, comparing heroin withdrawal to resisting a plate of eggplant, and barking orders at the grill as if sobriety were some kind of emasculating defect. Here, the father figure reveals himself as nothing more than a bully, enraged at the sight of self-improvement in someone else.
Between the coke, the vodka, whatever the fuck else he was squirting up his arm, my dad, your hero, wasn't much more than a fucking junkie.
The moment Christopher dares speak plainly about his own father's addictions, between the booze, the coke, whatever else he was squirting up his arm, let's face it, my dad, your hero, wasn't much more than a junkie, Tony's surprise calcifies into disgust. The great Dickie Moltisanti, whom Tony worships as a talisman of his own mythology, is stripped bare by Christopher's blunt assessment. Tony cannot forgive it. He cannot forgive anyone puncturing his idols, least of all the surrogate son who was supposed to validate his own twisted sense of legacy.
Christopher did this? He hit you? What for?
He was high.
Tony.
This tension festers until Christopher becomes less a nephew than a threat. The many saints of Newark may have tried to soften Dickie's addictions into rumor, but within the logic of the original series, Dickie's flaws are precisely the point.
Take your head out of your ass, Adriana. You knew exactly what you were doing.
We can arrest you right now.
By refusing to perpetuate the family myth, Christopher unwittingly sets himself up as the living embodiment of Tony's deepest fear, that all his idols, his father, his uncle, even himself, were nothing more than junkies of one form or another. Killing Christopher was, symbolically, Tony's way of killing that truth. Call it vicarious patricide if you like.
I'll never pass a drug test.
By suffocating his nephew in that car, Tony silenced not just a liability, but a mirror.
I love that kid like I love my son.
Christopher's trajectory also exposes Tony's hypocrisy as a so-called father figure.
I fucking asked you to watch out for Jackie Jr. I specifically said, don't let the kid get involved.
He famously told Jackie Jr. he would never want him or AJ in the life. Yet he had no such reservations about Christopher. Jackie was spared for lack of brains, AJ for lack of heart, but Christopher was expendable. He could be groomed, elevated, and eventually sacrificed as the shield Tony needed.
Oh, Chris?
South with the geese.
Christopher is the logical sacrifice bunt.
A lightning rod for indictments, a disposable figurehead who could absorb the fallout of Tony's sins. The moment it became clear that Christopher would never play that role, never be the underboss in name only, his usefulness evaporated. And what of support? Who in this wasteland of sociopaths showed Christopher even a flicker of compassion?
Little Carmine's lined up a meet in LA for us.
So what is it, business or time off?
Little Carmine, of all people, emerges as the unlikely saint. The man mocked endlessly as dim-witted, babbling about Versailles and stockpiling 20,000 copies of South Beach Strumpet, demonstrates more empathy in a single conversation than Tony or Paulie manage in the entire series. His quiet recognition of Christopher's struggle, however fleeting, reveals him to be the rare mobster capable of emotional intelligence.
Great, thanks.
This is Murmur.
Murmur and JT Dolan also offer flashes of genuine sponsorship. though Christopher, ever volatile, squanders them with violence or neglect. Uncle Pat, too, provides some encouragement, though it is muted, practical, and quickly drowned in the larger tide of indifference.
You should toast your wedding, at least. Your kid?
Polly, ever the paragon of empathy, reduces addiction to a matter of being normal. Why not just have one drink like everyone else? As though heroin withdrawal were no different from skipping dessert. The show's brilliance lies in these small exchanges, which capture with frightening accuracy how addicts are dismissed not only by criminals, but by society at large. Sobriety unsettles people. It casts light on their own indulgences, forces reflection where none is welcome.
I'm going to AA, you fucking jerk off. Get back to work.
Christopher!
To Tony and his crew, Christopher's refusal of a glass of wine is not merely inconvenient, it is accusatory. And they respond as such, with hostility, mockery, and the insistence that his improvement is both illegitimate and intolerable.
Totally.
Shut up. Tomorrow morning I'm gonna go with Patsy up to this rehab place in Pennsylvania.
The hypocrisy is relentless. Tony orders Christopher into rehab, demands that he get clean, and then ridicules him when he does. Sobriety is weakness. Relapse is failure. The man was trapped in a binary where every choice ended in ridicule.
Next, you're gonna want a vodka.
What?
Meanwhile, Adriana, juggling the unbearable weight of her FBI entanglement and her own illnesses, alternates between begging him to leave the life and pouring herself another glass of Chianti.
I had a medical procedure.
Both partners are locked in a cycle of violence and delusion, neither capable of breaking free.
Human frailty makes me sick sometimes.
Christopher's downfall is not unique to him. Any recovering addict is told early on that survival depends on changing one's environment, cutting ties with toxic influences, surrounding oneself with people who encourage growth.
This is a face-to-face business, Christopher.
But Christopher could never do that. His environment was the mob, and the mob is not built for rehabilitation.
I ought to suffocate you, you little prick.
He could stop haunting the Bing. He could throw waspy dinner parties. He could even toy with screenplays and suburban respectability.
Or not anymore.
He's already hinky.
But so long as he remained tethered to Tony, sobriety was a fantasy.
The last few months, things have got very bad with us because of you using drugs all the time.
His relapse was not a failure of willpower, but the inevitable outcome of trying to recover in a world that demanded his decay. What makes his arc so painful is that the show never lets us fully absolve him.
There was. So he started drinking again, he beat up Adriana, and he threw her out of the fucking house.
Christopher is not a saint. He is violent, abusive, cowardly, and, at times, reprehensible. But he is also the only major character who dares to dream of something else. Sobriety, Hollywood, family life, call them delusions, but they are at least aspirations. In the end, those aspirations made him intolerable.
They're on fucking drugs, or they're compromised with the law, or they're young, they don't listen to orders.
Tony could not stomach a reflection that revealed his idols as junkies, his surrogate son as a liability, and his own empire as a prison.
I'll never pass a drug test.
And so, with one hand on the wheel and the other on Christopher's nostrils, Tony made sure no one would ever again accuse him of being supportive.
We've been working the program very dedicated ever since he threw little Paulie out that window.
Christopher Moltisanti's tragedy is not that he was weak, it is that he was strong enough to try, in a world where trying was punishable by death. Christopher tried to change his world. You can change mine. Subscribe.